Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Varsha. Welcome to Rear View Mirror, a look back at the 1996 International Hot Rod Association Snap-on Tools drag racing season. It was a season that took some time to get started after 2 successive rain delays that put the calendar back by nearly a week. The All-Pro Auto Parts Winter Nationals finally took place at renovated Darlington International Dragway. In the featured top fuel category, it was an expensive weekend for former title contender Jim Bailey and the Frank Bafer and Sons machine. They blew not 1, but 2 expensive blown nitro-burning engines, making it to the finals where they met Pontiac Jack Ostrander. Ted Jones and I pick up the race call. They've spent almost $100,000 worth of parts to get to this point. They've still got 1 pass to go.
Consider 5,000 horsepower thrust to the rear tires all at once, and there it happens as the clutch comes in too quick. Now an engine explosion. It's whose lucky day is it going to be? Jack Ostrander with a 590, 156 miles per hour.
Now we will meet the leader in alcohol funny car, Jim Lape, as he gets set to meet the red machine of Jimmy Richter.
Rector will try the whole shot. Does a good time with a 456. Is that enough? No. Rector having a little bit of problems. Jim Late continues to dominate. 594, 238 miles per hour.
There is Larry Nance. Goes about 6'10" from Akron, Ohio. He'll be going up against John Nobile, who is about 5'8", I would guess, from Melville, New York.
He might be transferring some of those quick reflexes from the ball court over, Bob.
Question about it. He is an athlete. Here come the revs. Away they go. 423 react for Larry Nance. He's out first. Problems for Nobile in the far lane. Nance will win it.
Nance had him covered anyway. A 779, 165 miles per hour as he pops the new twin chutes as required by the new IHRA rule.
Now the vastly experienced guy, Scotty Cannon, going up against this beautifully turned out replica 38 Chevy Coupe of Tommy Gray at the launch. Gray actually puts the tree on Scotty Cannon. Will Cannon have the horsepower?
No, Gray took it away at the top end charge of 214 miles per hour for Cannon, but that whole shot's the difference. Tommy Gray 658, Scotty slowed to a 663. Look at it again. See, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Scotty's not doing a straight line.
And he will not go to victory lane. Here's a look at all the winners of the season opening Winter Nationals. With the exception of Jim Lape and Alcohol Funny Car, it would mark the only victory for each of the other 3 in 1996. Everyone, I'm Bob Varsha, along with ESPN drag racing analyst Ted Jones. Welcome to Darlington International Dragway, and a look back at the 1996 IHRA Snap-on Tools National Event Season. Ted, when we tried to begin the season here at Darlington, those many months ago, we said it was going to be an unpredictable year, but we didn't realize how unpredictable it was going to be.
Well, we were talking, Bob, about unpredictable in performance, not the weather. The weather gods were not kind to the International Hot Rod Association. They say 3 times it takes to be the charm. It took 3 efforts here at the All-Pro Auto Parts Winter Nationals in Darlington. The IHRA finally got it in, but then it wasn't over yet. They went to Steele, Alabama, had water problems with that track. We were halfway through the season before the IHRA could get on a good, serious racing surface.
And that serious racing began at Tulsa, Oklahoma at the Grand American Nationals. We'll be back with more of the IHRA Rear View Mirror Show in just a moment. Welcome back to our review of the 1996 IHRA season. I'm Bob Varsha. With the month-long saga of the season-opening Winter Nationals behind them, the drivers and teams moved to Tulsa International Raceway for the Grand American Nationals. By the time eliminations reached the final round, the day had turned overcast, gray, and raw. In top fuel, world champ Doug Herbert in the far lane took on surprising finalist Wayne Bailey. And when the lights went green, the drivers began an epic journey of their own. Scrabbling for traction the length of the quarter mile, both drivers pedaled their cars constantly before Herbert emerged the victor. In replay, watch the right-hand lane closely as Wayne Bailey breaks an engine mount and is forced to shut the machine down. In the far lane, plumes of smoke indicate that the world champ Doug Herbert is having all kinds of problems finding traction. The flames stop and go all the way to the end of the strip. Like a crazed locomotive, Herbert comes through to win. In alcohol funny car, in the far lane, Jimmy Rector found himself in the final against a four-time world champion, Ohio farmer Mark Thomas. Thomas in the near lane gets dangerously close to the center line, has to shut off. Rector comes through to take his first victory of the season. It would not be his last. In Pro Modified, Scotty Cannon in the near lane, also a four-time world champion, went up against sportsman legend Pat Moore. And to the surprise of everyone on the premises, Moore shut down Cannon in a close race, taking his first Pro Mod victory of the season. Finally, in Pro Stock, it was a matchup of young lion Robert Patrick in the far lane against track owner Jerry Yeoman, who had marched improbably through the field in his unsponsored Pro Stock to meet Patrick in the final. There it was no contest. Yeoman shut it down early, and Patrick marched to victory. So with two events complete of the 96 season, Jack Ostrander held his lead in Top Fuel, while John Nobile moved to the front in Pro Stock. Scotty Cannon fattened his lead in Pro Modified, and Jim Lape led Alcohol Funny Car. From Tulsa, Oklahoma, it was on to the land of black-eyed Susans and blue crabs, Maryland International Raceway for the President's Cup Nitrous Nationals. Without the top fuel cars on hand, the remaining three classes became the headliners. In Pro Modified, Scotty Cannon in his OnSat 63 Chevy Corvette found himself in his third straight final against Iowa-based Chevrolet dealer Carl Moyer. Cannon came through to pick up the victory at an astonishing 6.54 seconds. In Pro Stock, Carlton Phillips, a co-owner of the International Hot Rod Association, placed himself in the final against Doug Kirk, a former IHRA world champion, working with Dodge Power in 1996. When Kirk had to shut it down, Phillips was through to his first victory in many years. Finally, the Alcohol Funny Car final featured another three-time finalist in 96, Jimmy Rector in the far lane, going up against first-time finalist and the owner of the Scribner, Nebraska track on the IHRA trail, Corky East. Not to be denied, in what was becoming a season of dominance, Rector ran all the way to victory lane at 6.024 seconds. A look at the points. With three events complete, no change in Top Fuel. John Nobile remained the leader in Pro Stock, Scotty Cannon in Pro Modified, while Jimmy Rector moved to the fore in Alcohol Funny Car. After a break, we'll be back for the season's first visit to Thunder Valley, the home of the IHRA, Bristol, Tennessee. For the Spring Nationals. In the Top Fuel final, Wayne Bailey in the near lane went up against a first-time finalist in Top Fuel rookie Bruce Litton, who had beaten points leader Jack Ostrander en route to the finals. In that final, Litton learned a little about losing traction, and despite shedding parts all the way to the finish line, Wayne Bailey cruised to the victory. In Alcohol Funny Car, Jim Lape, winner of the season-opening Winter Nationals in Darlington, South Carolina, found himself up against Jimmy Rector. But when Rector could not answer the bell due to mechanical problems, Lape ran a solo to victory lane. Not about to disappoint the crowd, he kept his foot in it all the way to the finish line, taking the solo win at just over 6 seconds at 232 miles per hour. In Pro Modified, Scotty Cannon kept his record intact, his fourth straight final, this time against young Brad Jeter. But the killer estimator of Scotty Cannon, a four-time Pro Modified champion, was not to be denied. He launched from the starting line first and then simply drove away from Jeter, taking the victory and destroying an engine in the process. Finally, in Pro Stock, New Orleans teenager Richie Stevens found himself in his very first final in one of the biggest drag races of the year, up against Jerry Yeoman, a seasoned veteran in the other lane. But when the two stood toe-to-toe, it was Yeoman who blinked, red lighting at the start, and Stevens practiced his craft all the way to victory lane, his first ever professional drag racing victory, and doing his mentor Roy Hill proud in the process. With 4 events in the books and 6 to go, Ostrander retained the points lead in Top Fuel, while Yeoman moved to the fore in Pro Stock, Cannon remained the leader in Pro Modified, and Jim Lake moved back out front in Funny Car. Then it was on to the last race of the first half of the '96 season in beautiful Leicester, New York, in the Finger Lakes region of Upper New York State, an area rich with history and a great history in drag racing. In the Top Fuel final, Shirley Muldowney, a 4-time world champion in other sanctioning bodies, put herself into the final against last year's title runner-up, Jim Bailey. At the start, Bailey jumped to a half-car length lead and extended it to the finish, picking up his first victory of the 1996 season at 5.26 seconds. In Alcohol Funny Car, no surprise to see Jimmy Rector once again in the final round, this time going up against Tennessee-based Von Smith. In what would prove to be a prophetic matchup in the second half of the season, Rector managed to draw away to pick up the victory and fatten his points lead, but it would not be the last he had seen of Smith. In Pro Modified, another dominating figure put himself in yet another final. This time, Scotty Cannon found himself going up against Shannon Jenkins, another matchup that would prove prophetic as the season wore on. The lead at the lights went to the Alabama-based Jenkins, driving the machine that took Tommy Mooney to the World Championship the previous season. This time, Jenkins put it in victory lane, beating Cannon for the first time ever. Finally, in Pro Stock, Floyd Cheek moved his mountain motor Ford into the final against points leader John Nobile, who campaigns his Chevrolet out of Melville, New York. In a close race, Cheek took the advantage off the start line and then managed to edge Nobile at the finish for his first win of the year at 7.02 seconds and just under 200 miles per hour. In the championship chase at the halfway point of the season, Jim Bailey, the new leader in Top Fuel, Jerry Yeoman, the new name at the top of the Pro Stock charts, while Scotty Cannon and Jimmy Rector maintained their title lead. In a moment, we'll return to begin the second half of the year in the heartland of Indiana. Mix of domination by some championship contenders and parity among others.
Well, especially in Pro Stock, Bob. Consider this. Thus far in the season, none of the top 5 in Pro Stock have won a national event yet. Over in Pro Modified, though, an entirely different story. It looked as though Scotty Cannon had a lock on it one more time, but that was just about to change.
No question about it. As the second half of the season began in Morocco, Indiana, the roller coaster ride began in all 4 of our pro categories. In Pro Modified, Scotty Cannon found himself out of the finals for the first time all season. He was beaten in the quarterfinals by Pat Moore. So Cannon went to work on the car of Brad Jeter, hoping to help Jeter beat Moore in the final. Cannon's actions were perhaps not entirely motivated by charity. In Jeter, he not only saw a young driver with a lot of potential, but in Moore, Cannon saw a potential rival for the 1996 Pro Modified Championship. In the end, it hardly mattered. Moore got the advantage off the start line despite raising the front wheels in the air and under perfect racing conditions on the Morocco, Indiana track, moved by Jeter for the victory. The Top Fuel finale provided a first-time finalist named Illinois-based Luigi Novelli, going up against one of the legends of the game, Shirley Muldowney. From Shirley's onboard camera, you see Novelli moving away for the simple reason he left too early, handing Muldowney the automatic victory, and she needed it. In Pro Stock, Professor Roy Hill put himself in the final against one of the young lions of the game, John Yoke. In a battle of start line reactions, watch from Hill's car as Yoke launches too early, triggering the red light. As it turned out, Hill also left too soon, but under the rule of first or worse, Yoke was the first to red light. He was disqualified, handing Hill the victory. The Alcohol Funny Car final was a rematch of the previous event at Leicester, New York. Jimmy Rector in the far lane against Von Smith. This time it was Smith who fouled, giving Rector a much-needed victory, allowing him to firm up his grip on the Alcohol Funny Car points lead. It also kept alive Rector's perfect record of final round appearances in '96. To Beginning the second half of the season, Jim Bailey led Top Fuel, John Yoke Pro Stock, Scotty Cannon Pro Modified, and Jimmy Rector Alcohol Funny Car. From there, the team pushed further west to the cornfields of Nebraska and the Mid-America Nationals at the Nebraska Motorplex. In Top Fuel, Shirley Muldowney's new championship charge found her in the finals once again, this time against first-time finalist David Beineman, a proven winner in IHRA competition. In a spectacular side-by-side battle for traction, Shirley came through to take the victory, her second straight on the season. The Pro Stock final matched John Nobile, recently deposed as points leader, against Angelo Alesi from Cleveland, Ohio. Alesi away first in his 96 Chevy Monte Carlo, and on to the victory at better than 7 seconds and nearly 200 miles per hour. In Alcohol Funny Car, another rematch for the third straight final. Jimmy Rector and Von Smith locked horns. On the massive expanse of the former SAC bomber base, Rector was first away, but then lost traction, and Von Smith moved past to take the victory, engaging Rector for a championship in a battle that would last the balance of the year. Finally, in Pro Modified, Brad Jeter found himself once again in the finals, this time against Scotty Cannon's arch rival, Shannon Jenkins. This time, Jeter was not to be denied, taking the lead at the green light and carrying it all the way to the finish, beating Jenkins at 668 and 207 miles per hour. With the championship stretch drive heating up, Bailey led Top Fuel with Muldowney rising up the charts with a bullet. Nobile led Pro Stock, Scotty Cannon Pro Mod, and Rector Alcohol Funny Car. We'll be back to pick up the action of the 1996 IHRA season as Scotty Cannon, Jimmy Rector, and the rest of the teams descend on Norwalk, Ohio.
Filled with a 598, 233. Boy, this track is really hooking now, Bob.
Now, we told you that you'd get a look at Scotty Cannon. There he is in the near lane, but look fast. 4 times this year he has gone up against Pat Moore. He did it in the first round of Pro Modified here at Norwalk, and he lost.
Pat Moore strapped a tree on him, a 5:12 reaction time. Cannon went 669 more, 671. He flat outdrove him. That's all there is to it.
And so with Scotty Cannon out in the first round, Shannon Jenkins, like Von Smith, had a chance to make up points in the championship chase. See who's got the combination right now.
Pressure is on Shannon Jenkins. With Scotty Cannon going out in the first round, Jenkins could make a significant move with a victory right here at Norwalk.
Advantage off the line goes to Don Fagley in the far lane. Jenkins is out on him. Can he hold him? Yes.
Jenkins ETs him a 658, 208 miles per hour. I'll tell you, he is lucky. Fagley has been wired to the tree. Hey, Fagley, he doesn't want to stop.
Pro Stock final, Robert Patrick in the near lane, John Yoke in the far lane. 2 great young driving stars.
One thing for certain Ford fans, a Ford will win this one. First off the line is Robert Patrick. Now that young Lion's reflexes are so quick, he picks up the victory with ease. A 683 to Yoke's losing 689.
In Top Fuel, Jim Bailey had been the points leader since the Empire Nationals at Leicester, New York. But as he rolled into the semifinals against Shirley Muldowney, he knew he would have to win to stay on top. Driving for Frank Vapor and Sons, notice the Superman logo on the chin of his helmet. This should be interesting. Bailey and Muldowney.
They'll stage very carefully, roll that final 7.5 inches. They do it. First off the line, Shirley Muldowney. She's ahead of Bailey all the way. Shirley pulls it out. 4.99 reaction time. Couple that to a 5:21. Jim Bailey went a quicker 5:20.
Well, now Doug Herbert is back in the Top Fuel final, up against Shirley Muldowney, and this should be great fun.
Both of these cars are capable of about the same ET. It's going to be reaction time. Shirley has him off the line. A 460. Shirley Muldowney pulls it out with a 5:20. Doug Herbert a 5:19. She beat him cleanly off the starting line.
3 consecutive national event wins. Both drivers in and out of the throttle on the run, but like I said, this one is history.
Love you, babe.
Good one.
Thanks for being such a champ.
Only 2 people in history, 3 in a row.
Really?
Now you're in the list.
God, was I afraid of him.
Both of you pedaled
What
at
happened up
exactly the same moment.
Unbelievable. And it picked that front end right up and set it down.
And I don't know if Doug had the front end problem, but like I said, you both lifted at exactly, you can watch the replay and see the header flames go out at exactly the same time and come back on.
Where I sat, as Mike Kopchak says, it was a pretty thing.
And so with 8 events down and just 2 to go, here's the way the championship stood. Shirley Muldowney moving to the 4 in Top Fuel, while consistent points leaders John Yoke in Pro Stock, Scotty Cannon in Pro Mod, and Jimmy Rector in Alcohol Funny Car retained their points leads. In a moment, a drag racing classic, the Fall Nationals at Bristol. Welcome back to our look back at the 1996 IHRA season. The next to last round brought the teams to Bristol, Tennessee. Brett Kepner sets the points.
The World Championship points races, we all know, are super tight. But it's interesting in that the leader of the points race should be the one that feels the most at ease coming into a race this late in the series. But in fact, every one of the #1 points earners are under a tremendous amount of pressure because the points races are so close. One miscue by any one of them could end up in losing everything for the entire season. We saw it happen laid out right before the crowd in Top Fuel qualifying when Jim Bailey and the Pfeiffer & Sons Top Fueler failed to make the cut. He was ranked #2 in the World Championship Series behind Shirley Muldowney. That automatically moved Doug Herbert to #2 and indeed put Bailey pretty much out of the entire picture, especially if Herbert and or Muldowney managed to win a couple of rounds in eliminations. Now in Pro Stock and Pro Modified Eliminator, it's pretty much the same deal. If Scotty Cannon messes up in any way, shape, or form, and Shannon Jenkins performs well like he did at the last race at Norwalk, Ohio, Cannon is in danger of losing another World Championship. Pro Stock is so tight it really doesn't matter what happens. It's still going to be tight at Darlington. But Funny Car is also in a situation in which Jimmy Rector must do well. If he loses and Vaughn Smith continues to do well, who knows who's going to win the World Championship there. And Rector is in a situation where, as a man who finished in the first 7 consecutive finals, he still may not end up winning this thing. That sets up a whale of a drag race.
And a whaleable race it was, beginning in the early rounds of Pro Mod and Pro Stock. Now to Scotty Cannon, the points leader by 730 markers. And he is the defending champion here at Bristol. He pulls into the lanes against Michael Martin, a pair of 63 Corvettes.
Scotty Cannon had a tough time as of late. He dominated the early going with 3 runner-ups and 2 wins. And now all of a sudden, Scotty Cannon is upset once again. Michael Martin, 683 to Scotty's losing 684, but everything's in the reaction time.
Cannon's early departure opened the door wide for Shannon Jenkins, who could tighten the points race even further if he could keep winning. On to the Pro Modified final now. Shannon Jenkins in the far lane up against Tommy Gray.
Shannon Jenkins, pressure time. He needs this if he's going to catch Scotty Cannon and take it all the way into Darlington. He has it by a full car length. Shannon Jenkins, 660. What a time. 205 miles per hour. Scotty is in big trouble.
Meanwhile, in Pro Stock, the points race stayed tight as none of the leaders could make any kind of move. John Nobile going up against the guy we haven't seen before this year, Ed Mahachek.
And John Nobile had qualified #1, but a big upset for Mahachek with a 693. Nobile turned on the red light.
Jerry Yeoman right there, another of the big 5. He is #2 in points right now.
The battle of the factories is on the starting line right now.
And just like that, it's over. Another red light by a title contender. Yeoman took a run at the tree, and it fell on him. Koenigshofer advances. And just like that, the numbers 2 and 3 in points are gone. What an opportunity for this guy, John Yoke. Right now, he's got to get around fast starting David Jenkins.
Chevrolet versus Ford, a 96 Monte Carlo and a 96 Thunderbird. Whoa, a whole shot advantage for John Yoke with a 436. Let's see if he has enough. Here comes David Jenkins. Yes, picks it off with a 693.
Oh, man, this Pro Stock World Championship is going to go right to the last pass of the last weekend. The same could be said for Alcohol Funny Car, as Scott Weiss played the spoiler, running strongly against both contenders. Now to Alcohol Funny Car, Jimmy Rector, who has been in every final of the year. He will go up against #6 in points, Scott Weiss, who out-qualified him.
As of late, he's had a little bit of a problem. He must win over Scott Wise. He's in trouble. Scott Wise pulls it out with a 6:09. 228. Rector could only muster up a 6:25.
Vaughn Smith going up against Scott Weiss.
Scott Weiss has been running all weekend, qualified with a 6:02, hasn't been out of the 6:0, so Vaughn Smith needs something here, and a red light was definitely not it. Scott Wise will motor on down to a 6:10, 228 miles per hour, and Vaughn Smith goes out. This points thing gets closer and closer.
One final remains. Top Fuel, and what a matchup. Doug Herbert, the #1 qualifier, against Shirley Muldowney, #2. Both are away. Problems for Muldowney.
Shirley Muldowney up in smoke, and she had the best reaction time, too, but Doug Herbert will win the Norwalk rematch. This really closes the points up, Bob.
It's not over, but that sure helped.
That sure helped a lot. Shirley is my hero, I'm telling you. I think everybody knows that. But we had to beat her. We had to beat her. So went up there and we both deep stage on there, you know, a little bit of trick in there. But, hey, what can I say? For Snap-on Tools and Doug Herbert Performance Parts and all my guys that came out here, my crew, we thrashed. We were putting engines in this thing every run. Yep. And it's worth it.
Let me tell you, the deep staging was worth it. 423 to 434.
All right. That'll help my reaction time average.
Yeah, that'll help.
Track of.
Unbelievable.
Good job.
We'll see you at the season finale in Darlington, South Carolina. Don't miss it. It's gonna be a show. All 4 championships are up for grabs next. Stay with us. Yesterday and tomorrow, call it Darlington, South Carolina. Today, it's Titletown, USA. The final stop of the IHRA Snap-on Tools National Event Calendar will see 4 World Championships decided. In Top Fuel, Doug Herbert goes for his 4th in a row. To do so, he'll have to get around one of the legends of the sport, Shirley Muldowney. Today, 4-time Pro-Modified titleist Scotty Cannon will try to regain his crown from the man who turned the wrenches for last year's champion, crew chief turned racer Shannon Jenkins. Today, the Pro Stock crown could be decided between 2 men who have yet to win a race this year. From West Virginia, John Yoke, and from New York, John Nobile. Today, in Alcohol Funny Car, the formerly unbeatable Jimmy Rector has cause for concern. His luck has gone stone cold, while that of his title rival Vaughn Smith is hot as a nuclear furnace. 4 championships await today in Darlington, South Carolina. On a beautiful fall day in Darlington, South Carolina, welcome to the IHRA Snap-on Tools 1996 Finals, the end of the trail for the 1996 championship campaign. Down on the starting line, preparations underway for the most dramatic championship title fight in recent memory on the IHRA trail. The track cannot be smooth or sticky enough for these racers. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Barsha, along with ESPN drag racing analyst Ted Jones. Welcome to DID. Now, normally we'd show you some action over on the drag strip before coming on camera to say hello. But, Ted, the way these 4 world championships are coming down to the final event of the year, we have to set the stage first.
Well, we do, Bob, because what may happen is some of those world championships, for instance, in Pro Modified with Shannon Jenkins and Scotty Cannon, may go to the final run of the day. Others may be decided earlier on in early eliminations. In Pro Stock, Jerry Yeoman didn't even qualify. That's down to a 3-man race. So the best is yet to come.
No question about it, and no better way to show you than to take a look at the points, Ted.
Especially in Top Fuel. Now, Shirley Muldowney appears to have the lead, but that's deceiving. There's a 471-point bonus. Shirley is actually in 2nd place because of that perfect attendance bonus. John Yoke has the lead. All the other guys are playing chase. As long as John matches them, he'll be the world champion. Same thing with Scotty Cannon. He has the lead. Shannon Jenkins has to score more points than Scotty, who has already set a record. And Jimmy Rector, watch out now. He has been cold the last half of the season. Vaughn Smith could do it.
This is going to be fun. And keep in mind, we also have a race to win. Let's start things off with quarterfinals of Top Fuel. Here's Rhonda Hartman, one of the top drivers in the class last year. She's had no luck at all and no finals in 1996. She could get well right now against this guy. David Bieneman, runner-up to Shirley Muldowney at Scribner, Nebraska earlier this year. This is the middle of the order, number 4 qualifier against number 5.
Watch for a 4-second run. They were running 4s in qualifying earlier here, Bob, so you could easily see a 4-second run, especially out of Bieneman, who's been running strong.
Rhonda Hartman with the advantage of half track and a huge engine explosion. She keeps it off the right side guardrail.
but that was huge for Rhonda Hartman. Actually, a great driving job to keep her cool and stop the car there after that engine explosion. Boy, and doesn't that just sum up her entire season? One weekend, she went through 4 engines, as you see Rhonda getting out quickly, wanting to know what happened behind her. Well, she's not sure what's going on back there. Sometimes there's a fire. Speaking of fire, let's look at the replay. Now, that's fire, Bob. Oh, my. Right out the manifold, parts spewing everywhere. There goes the blower belt, but the parachute came out, and that helped keep the car stabilized and slowing. This ought to be spectacular from our finish line camera. You bet. She was on fire at the finish line. Here you see Rhonda on the ground, along with her husband, John, with his back to the camera, and the PTS track crew. It appears that she is okay, but what a shock. And look at the extent of the damage. That was a dramatic engine explosion. You can see the parts as the PTS crew takes them off the engine. Let's look one more time. It actually occurred prior to the finish line. A cough and then a huge explosion. Now there's Shirley Muldowney getting in. She'll be in the next pair. Let's join Brett Kepner with Rhonda.
Has anybody bothered to tell you that you won?
No, I asked that if we won. Nobody told me. I thought a tire blew. I couldn't steer the car. As soon as it blew, it just pieces flew everywhere. I've never exploded an engine that way. And
what'd you get hit in the leg? Just on the side of the cage there?
I got hit in the leg. No, some pieces flew up and
so the pieces were going faster than you?
Yeah, they were flying in front of me, and I honestly didn't know what was happening. I just couldn't steer. I was trying to get the thing stopped.
Well, that was a close moment. Now, back to this business of the World Championship. There is Shirley Muldowney, holder of 4 Top Fuel World Championships from various sanctioning bodies. Her opponent in this first round, Bruce Litton, no pushover. He made it to the finals of the Spring Nationals at Bristol, Tennessee. Shirley leads in the points, but as Ted mentioned, she has to run the table because that guy, Doug Herbert, has a 471-point bonus coming his way for having run every race of the season. Shirley did not attend early in the year. Listen to her last 5 results. 3 victories, 2 runner-up finishes. She is the queen of Top Fuel. Herbert has managed to put her out there first, too. A lot of the fans may not be aware, but the low qualifier, Doug qualified number 2, Shirley qualified number 3, determines when he races. He said, I want to go last. Now that puts the pressure on Shirley Muldowney, and she's in trouble right off the line. Bruce Litton, a whole shot on Muldowney. Bruce Litton upsets Shirley Muldowney. The crew walks away dejectedly. That gives the World Championship to Doug Herbert. And you saw Herbert's crew walking to the line to shake hands with Shirley's husband and crew chief Ron Tobler and the crew. Bruce Litton, with that victory, has turned the World Championship over to Doug Herbert for the 4th year. There is Herbert in his car. He will be coming to the line in the next pair. Meanwhile, on the replay, wheels up start for Bruce Litton as he found the traction to his liking, but a whole shot on Muldowney, something that doesn't happen very often, and was out in front for the entire race. Shirley could not get back in it. All the way to the top end was Litton wire to wire. You see right here by about 10 feet. There's Shirley and husband Ron walk away. What an emotional moment for them. Shirley needed to run the table. It will not happen. Now it is Doug Herbert's turn. And this was Doug Herbert during last night's Night of Fire final round qualifying. In the left lane, qualifying with Jim Bailey. Bailey gets out of it, and watch what happens to Herbert. Herbert actually got out of it and then back in it, and a tremendous engine explosion at about the 8th mile. Sparks flying. He had some serious engine damage. Had to work most of the night to get ready for this race. And this is Doug Herbert against Luigi Novelli. Herbert actually slowed to a 9 flat. Novelli threw away a 5:21 on a red light start. Herbert moves to round number 2. After the run, a hug from Shirley Muldowney for the world champ, who spoke with Brett Kepner.
You can't ask for any more sportsmanship than that, can you?
No way. She's a pro. There's no doubt about it. I'll tell you, we're so happy. It's unbelievable. I don't know. Luigi got a little bit of ants in his pants. I guess I made up for that 408 that he had on me a while back.
That's what it was.
Oh, boy. I'll tell you, we're excited for Snap-on Tools and Doug Herbert Performance Parts. We can't be happier. My whole crew, guys, Brad and Pete and everybody, even though Brissette's not here, he gives us a little moral support.
How'd you sleep last night?
I didn't sleep too good.
Not good.
John Noble's son performing important mechanical chores. Pro Stock will be up. We return. The title fights were upstaged by a record run in Pro Stock. Now let's turn to Pro Stock. Final round qualifying, Jerry Yeoman and Floyd Cheek.
If Yeoman is going to stay in this points battle, he needed to qualify, and Yeoman did not qualify. Meanwhile, Floyd Cheek set a world record, 205 miles per hour in pro stock.
And we have had some action this weekend at Darlington. With Yeoman, the number 2 man in points out, that opens the door for this guy, number 3 in points, John Nobile. He may have a shot at this team. Crewman standing by points leader John Yoke's Ford Thunderbird. We'll see that in a little bit. First, here is Carlton Phillips against John Nobile.
Well, Phillips has won one national event this year. That's more than Nobile can lay claim to. But John Nobile is first off the starting line. Wire-to-wire win, 6:79. He's very much alive in that points chase.
Oh, the fiery little driver from Melville, New York. He's at the big end with Brett.
Yoke's going now? Dear God, if there's a God, he's my friend, but I want him to lose right now. If there's a God up there.
Well, all theological references aside, here comes the points leader, John Yoke, about to make or break his buddy John Noble's weekend. There's Dad Bob looking on.
And he'll be running Greg Hankinson, the number 12 qualifier. You can't sell any of these guys short. Pro stock is without question the most competitive drag racing on the face of the planet.
Yoke on his way to a win.
Yes, you got him. Great job, buddy. Great job. Here's my boy. Well, he's world champ. He's world champ. He deserves it.
I couldn't have put it better. John Yoke, with that round victory, can now not be touched. John Nobile could move up to second in points, but that remains to be seen. Here's a look at the launch for John Yoke.
Oh, they had that car dialed in absolutely perfectly for John Yoke, wire to wire all the way down to win the World Championship for 1996.
Ladies and gentlemen, although he hasn't won a race this year yet, he is the world champion. You had John Nobile here losing his mind.
Yeah, buddy. I won first round. So I guess that's on number 2.
Yeah.
I hate it. I mean, John's such a good guy, you know, but man, it feels good. It's a big weight off my shoulder.
I just told them they were all looking at me, and I just said, if there's a God, I want him to lose. He's my friend. But if he wins, then he's won.
That's right. Good job.
Good deal.
The classic Ford and Chevy battle, like I said, it's got to feel weird having not yet won a race this year. Only 3 other people in drag racing history have ever done this.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's really like something's missing. We're sure going to take it any way we can, but I mean, we want to race bad, so hopefully this is it.
Well, the 673 might be a horrible indicator of things to come for everybody else. Keep it up.
I hope so. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brett. To the semifinals of Pro Modified we go. There is Scotty Cannon, who knows what he has to do. Win his world championship right now. If he does, it will be his 5th. Meanwhile, over on the starting line, this is Brad Jeter in the far lane against Shannon Jenkins. And you know Scotty is going to want to know the results of this battle right away.
Oh, Shannon Jenkins, a 4:25 reaction time. It's just about over right there. Here comes Brad Jeter right beside him as the engine goes away. Jeter at 6:52. Jenkins won it off the starting line, a 6:57. What an incredible driving job for Shannon Jenkins under pressure.
And now Scotty Cannon pulls into the lane. Jenkins has left him no margin. He must go and win this race. First, let's take another look.
Shannon Jenkins, without question, had the adrenaline pumping, a 4:25 reaction time to Brad Jeter's slower 4:80. He didn't know Brad Jeter had a 6:52 in that car. Good thing he was wired into that tree, though, Bob.
And by the narrowest of margins, Shannon Jenkins keeps his championship hopes alive. Look how close it was at the finish. And so once again, all the pressure shifts to the driver of this car, the killer Red Mater. Shannon Jenkins and crew will look on with a certain vested interest. And now what's this? Captain America is out of the fight. Lewis Burris has a problem. Scotty Cannon will make a solo pass.
Scotty Cannon picks up the points for this round and will move into the final and does it in style. 6:44, 215 miles per hour. And is that crew jubilant or what?
6:44. New record, man! I love it!
Yeah, the think Scotty's excited about this.
That's the most excited we've seen Scotty all season. Meanwhile, a dejected Lewis Burris, Captain America, pushing back.
Woo! Is that it?
That did back up the record. 6:44.
God, I love it. Come to the wire, baby. I love it. I love you, fan. This was for my little boy, Destin. Brand new. Look here. First time he's rode with me. Ain't done bad since. My boy. Thank you.
Now, I'm going to check something. I got my little cheat sheet
Woo!
with 100 extra points for the record.
I could lose next round, but I won championship. 700, 200, right?
Well, I'm looking here. It looks like if you lose in the final with an extra 100 points.
By 50 points.
Yes, I think so.
1 point's good as a million. Let's go.
I think he is world champion.
All right, thank you, Brett. There's Jimmy Rector's alcohol money car trailered in the first round by Mark Thomas. And there is Jimmy Rector in Mark Thomas's pit. Conspiring, perhaps, Thomas has Rector's arch rival, Vaughn Smith, in the next round. Stay with us for that. IHRA drag racing season. The finale at Darlington, South Carolina, provided a neat irony in alcohol funny car. The man on the left, Mark Thomas, in 1995 found himself at the last race of the year fighting for a title. The man in that position this year, Jimmy Rector in the red shirt. The two met in the alcohol funny car first round. There's Jimmy Rector, absolutely bulletproof in the early part of this season. There is Mark Thomas, who was bulletproof en route to 4 alcohol funny car world championships. But Rector's been having his problems of late, and here in the first round of alcohol funny car, those problems continue. Mark Thomas cannot possibly win the world championship, and he would like to stop Rector just to prove he's still in the ball game, and he's just about to do it. Rector broke. You can see the smoke from the car. Mark Thomas with a 6:25. Jimmy Rector is out of it, and the door is wide open for Vaughn Smith. We've got to look at that run one more time. As you see Rector lead the line there at about the 300-foot mark. He's out in front at the 8th mile, still in front of Mark Thomas. Suddenly, something goes away on Jimmy Rector's car. Mark Thomas zips to the win. After a long season, the dramatic alcohol funny car battle between Jimmy Rector and Vaughn Smith comes down to the final race. And now for the championship. If Vaughn Smith wins this race against Mark Thomas, it's his title. Thomas will try to knock him off. Go get him, Mark, says Jimmy Rector. If Thomas wins, Rector is the world champion. That's because Vaughn Smith can do runner-up at worst, and a red light start for Mark Thomas. Unbelievable when the pressure was on. Jimmy Rector sees the red light, walks away dejectedly, had a great season going up until Norwalk, Ohio, when his world fell apart. Now the impossible has happened. Jimmy Rector congratulating Vaughn Smith's crew. What a great gesture of sportsmanship. He has to be greatly disappointed as we look at the World Championship run. One more time, it was close at the finish line in spite of the red light. The only car that matters is the one in the near lane, Vaughn Smith. And once again, a championship celebration from a very happy crew. Let's get down to Brett with the champ.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present the ultimate come-from-behind world championship win. Beating a man who had been in 7 finals in the next-to-last round of the year. You are the world champion in this category, buddy.
Thank God. I mean, this is wonderful, Brad. I know I'm going to start one of my emotional things. And I don't mean it.
Do you think anybody would blame you?
I'm so happy. I mean, for everybody. I mean, you know, God, like I said, my father, he helps more than anybody. Howard Moon and everybody on the crew. I mean, everybody's busting their butt between rounds. I'm elated. I'm so happy.
Did you think, I mean, did you ever once think that you could actually get around the incredible lead he had?
No. No, I want to thank this man right here.
Well, you don't have to thank him.
Congratulations, man. You worked hard.
You did what you had to do. You went red. He went 6:15, and he'll probably be interested to know that he went 5:96.
All right. That's great.
Hey, congratulations. You'll be a good representative, man.
From you, I
You'll be a
appreciate
good representative. Congratulations. Just keep it going.
And that completes our look back at the 1996 IHRA Snap-on Tools National Event season. It was a great year. Ted, your final thoughts?
You know, the IHRA has a very equal point system. I mean, to get it down to the final event in Darlington, South Carolina, you couldn't get it much closer. Who would have thought John Yoke in pro stock? And I'm sure Doug Herbert will have his hands full with who knows who winning number 5.
There's a great season of drag racing coming up in 1997, and it all begins right back here in Darlington, South Carolina. So be sure to be with us when the season opens here on ESPN2. Until then, for Ted Jones and Brett Kepner, I'm Bob Varsha. So long, everyone.